No, جزاكم الله خير. Maybe afterwards.
Okay.
جزاكم. Welcome, Brother Kamal. How are you? How's everything? This thing is working. جزاكم. السلام عليكم. اوكي أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق، ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم، وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا من فضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. So last time we finished the things that invalidate the prayer. We spoke about saying something, speaking. I don't know why it's Uthman. Can you get me out of this? I want to see whatever is shown in there. I want to see it here. لا تطلعش من هنا. Do you know how to do it or no? I don't want the presenter view. I just wanted to. Don't know why it's doing this today. Thank you. زي ما بتعرفش خلي البرادر يجي. Brother Kamal. So how can I make it present and I have the same slide here? It's showing me the presenter view.
Oh.
I don't know why it's doing this today. So if I play from current slide, it takes me to this the presenter view. So I don't want that. I want to see whatever is shown here. I want to have it here. it's okay. Don't wanna use too much time.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to play around with
Ah.
it and see.
Hmm? No, why did you say? That's it. I mean.
I think it's a duplicate setting. We have to go to like the system setting.
Yeah, but I didn't have that. I mean,
Before?
last time, yeah, I didn't. Well.
What happened? He wants to see the same screen on both computer and projector.
But wasn't it just showing the same
It's
thing?
Mac.
Like, see, it's showing the prayer.
Swap
Yeah.
displays.
It's okay. It's okay.
Alright, let's
Yeah, yeah.
It is showing the same.
So we now. So we talked about things that invalidate the prayer. We talked about all of these things. So no need to repeat them, inshallah. And we started, I believe, talking about disliked things in the prayer, makruhat. The difference between the things.
If you want to go to the screen and right click.
Hmm?
Go to the screen and then right click. There's display setting and then multiple display.
The screen? What screen? Yeah.
Let's minimize this.
Go out. Don't want to waste the time. The screen where here? Duplicate. Duplicate? You said. What did you say? What's this thing?
Duplicate.
No, it's not duplicate.
Not this one. To minimize this.
Ah, you want me to go to the desktop?
Yeah, that's it.
I will have to close all the screens.
So right click somewhere here.
One second. Okay. And then?
Display setting.
Huh?
Display setting. Show view option.
It's okay, brother. It's okay. I mean, it's gonna take too much time now. I don't know why it's doing this. Computers are like that. Allah. No, this is the presenter view. What you're seeing now is the presenter view. So we started talking about offensive things, offensive or disliked. These are two translations for the word makruh in the Sharia. And we mentioned that the makruh for the Hanafis is of two types. There is the makruh tanzihan and there is the makruh tahriman. Makruh tahriman, it means it's haram and it's a sin. It's like saying that this is something haram in other schools. And makruh tanzihan is what is known in other schools as makruh, which means if you quit it, you will be rewarded. If you do it, you will not be punished. But these are disliked things in the salah. Some of them are makruh tahriman and some of them are makruh tanzihan. Right. بس يا بابا بس يا حبيبي. Okay, so these are the things. First thing he mentioned, to deliberately omit any mandatory wajib or sunnah act. So if you leave any sunnah, it's makruh to do that. So leaving the sunnah, what is recommended is the counterpart of what is disliked. So if you leave a sunnah, it's makruh for you to leave it. So remember that. Now, the second thing he said, to fiddle around with one's garment or body without excessive movement. right? As he said, as excessive movement also invalidates the prayer. So this is abath. Abath in the Arabic language means to fiddle around with something without a purpose. Without a purpose. What does it mean without a purpose? Like if you are, for example, in the salah and one part of your body started itching you and you want to scratch it, that's not abath. Like you did like this, that's not abath, because you're doing it on a purpose. You have a purpose for doing that. It's distracting you, right? Let's say there's a fly that is on you or a mosquito, whatever, and you did this with your hand to make it fly away from you. This is not abath. Again, it's a reason. It's distracting you from the prayer and you want to focus on the prayer. But of course you can't be fighting with it, and because this would be excessive movement. Excessive movement, why did he stipulate here without excessive movement? Because excessive movement invalidates the prayer in the Hanafi school. We mentioned the criteria last time. What's the criteria? How would you know that a movement is excessive and the salah is broken because of that? Exactly, thank you. So if someone is watching you and they say, oh, this person is not praying, because he's like moving and fixing and doing all of these things, and say he's not praying, right? So excessive movement in the Hanafi school. In the Shafi'i school, it's not about excessive movement. It's about, we also mentioned that, three consecutive movements. 3 consecutive movements. So 1, 2, 3, the salah is over. Yeah, 1. I see some children doing this in the salah. That's excessive movement in both, for the Hanafis and for the Shafis. And if you're doing like that, that invalidates the prayer. When you are in the prayer, you have to have khushu'. You have to have khushu'. Khushu' means presence. Presence means that you summon to your mind that you are praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we shouldn't be like fidgeting in the salah and fiddling and doing this and doing that and playing with this and playing with that. And if there is something that is distracting you in the prayer, take it off. There is a ring or there is a watch or whatever, or a phone, answering the phone while in the prayer, like some people do. That's not befitting to the prayer. Yes?
Is it on the third movement that the salah becomes?
Yeah, in the Shafi'i school, yes. The third consecutive movement. If it's not consecutive, then it doesn't break. So, if you're a Shafi'i, subhanAllah, I had a dream about this vision. This morning I had this vision. So we were in the salah and there was a gap in front of us and we were praying. Somebody left the prayer for a reason. My father was there and he pointed to me that I should go cover the gap. So I had this fiqh ruling in my mind. So I did like this. So this, by doing this, how many movements is this? 2. I need to pause now. Notice if I go 1, 2, 3 consecutively, my salah is invalid. Even if I needed to cover the gap, because covering the gap is not part of my salah aslan. It's not part of my salah, and it's not wajib for me to do that. We should cover the gaps, we should not leave gaps, but we should also know our fiqh. Because if I go like this, like most people do, the salah is over. It's like we're taking a walk in the salah. And that invalidates the salah. So be careful. Children, specifically children, be careful from movement in the salah. And I mentioned last time how I saw that child praying and he had khushu' like this. You recite the Fatiha, you focus on the Fatiha, you don't look around and keep on directing yourself. By the way, if you direct yourself like that, what happens to the salah? If this is the Qibla and you direct yourself like that, that invalidates the prayer. Why? Huh? Yes, you turn the torso more than 45 degrees at the Hanafi school, away from the Qibla. So if the Qibla is here, and I turned like that, how many degrees is that? 90 degrees. And that invalidates the prayer as well. La, if you moved your head, it's disliked. We will come to it. It's disliked, but it doesn't invalidate the prayer. Which is, you move your neck. If you, we will come to it. We will mention it in a little bit. To wipe away pebbles on the ground. So, طبعا, this doesn't apply to us. Maybe it applies to us if we pray outside, and there are pebbles or anything like pebbles, not necessarily pebbles. And now I want to prostrate, and I realized that there are pebbles on the ground, and I started removing them. Now, if I'm doing this, if I remove them because I'm going to prostrate, this is my purpose, that I want to clean this place. طبعا, it's better to do it before the prayer. But if I realize that there are pebbles and they're going to hurt me when I do the sujood, and they're going to reduce my presence in the prayer, then it's okay, it's not disliked. But if it's abath like I'm playing with them, with the pebbles, trying to find anything because I'm bored in the prayer and trying to find anything to play with, right? So I started hitting them like that or whatever, then that's disliked. That is makruh. So to wipe away pebbles on the ground, except once for prostration. Once. I put them away, but not play with them, not do this abath. The good transition for abath is to do something in vain. This word, to do something in vain, without a purpose. Yes. Yeah, without excessive movement. Anything equivalent, yes, applies. Not these things. He's giving examples. But abath in general, abath is with anything. It doesn't have to be the clothes or anything. Abath. We mentioned, I just mentioned it now, to fiddle with something without a purpose or reason. And the reason also is has to be valid. Like someone getting out his phone and that's abath. It might even invalidate the prayer to do that because there's an excessive movement. If there's an excessive movement, and this is something that people, if they see you looking at your phone, they will think that you're not in the prayer, right? So this is another thing, that phones should be kept away during the prayer. And then he said to crack one's knuckles. To crack one's knuckles. Now to do this inside the salah, this is makruh tahriman in the Hanafi school. It does not invalidate the prayer, but it's a sin that you are sinning. So the shaitan, subhanallah, some people, they never do this, but when they get into the salah, they start doing that. Right? I see kids doing that. So again, this doesn't befit the salah. This is makruh tahriman in the Hanafi school. If you do it in the salah, makruh tahrim, yani it's a sin. It's a abath again. It's a part of abath, doing that. Now outside the salah, this is makruh tanzihan. Yani it's also disliked outside the salah to do that, because there is no point in it. And this is not something that we should be doing. So the fuqaha encourage against it. Okay, to place one's hands in the salah on one's hips. Also, this is makruh, also tahriman. It's a sin to do that in the salah. To turn one's neck. This is what you sister, this was your question, right? What if you turn your neck in the salah rather than the body? We said that to turn the neck alone, this is makruh tahriman. And it's a sin to do that. But does it invalidate the prayer? No, it does not invalidate the prayer. What invalidates the prayer is to turn the entire torso away from the qibla. Like I said, I gave you the example. So there's a difference between doing this and doing this. Now if you do this, you are not facing the qibla anymore. But if you just turn your neck like that, this does not invalidate the prayer, but it's a sin. There's a hadith actually about this, that Allah, when we pray, Allah will be in front of us. Allah is not in any direction. Allah is not a body to be in any direction. He is the creator of directions. Directions are actually very relative. Directions are relative. What do I mean by them being relative? If there's an ant walking on the roof, where would be the above direction for it? It would be below, right? You see what I mean? It is relative. The earth is a globe. Someone would say, where is the above for you? He would direct the person who is on the other side of the globe, under him, he would point to the exactly opposite direction. Because directions are relative. And Allah is not relative. Allah is not restricted by anything. Allah is not a body like us. That the places were created by Allah, the directions were created by Allah, and Allah is not bound by them. But this hadith means that you have to have that presence in mind, that you are so close to Allah that it is disliked to spit, for example, in the direction of the qibla, inside the salah and outside the salah. It says it's disliked to do that. But in the salah it's even more serious. Because you have that presence, that you are in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you direct like that, I heard a hadith that says that Allah will say that, is there anything better or more beautiful or greater than me that you are looking at? So this is why we should not be looking at anything in the salah. And we should either be looking at the place of prostration or have our eyes closed altogether. You had a question? Yeah. Which one? لا تحريما, I said. تحريما. a sin. If it's like haram in other schools. When you say makruh tahriman, it's like haram. Potentially, it's like haram. Yani it's a sin that you are sinning. It does not break the prayer, but it's a sin that you have to ask Allah for forgiveness from. And then to sit with one's knees up. How do you do that? To sit with one's knees up? In the tashahhud. Sitting, we're talking about tashahhud, or what else? When do we sit in the prayer? Between the two sajdas. So it's either tashahhud or between the two sajdas. So if someone, let's say he is now sitting between the sajdas, and instead of going like this, he or she went like this. Does this invalidate the prayer? Huh? No, it doesn't, because we're talking about things that are disliked. So to sit with one knees up does not invalidate the prayer, but it's a sin again. It's a sin. Yani it's makruh tahriman. Makruh tahriman. To do that. Whether you do that in tashahhud or you do this between the two sajdas. Okay, but what if there is someone who's sick and they can't bend their knees like that and sit on them? Then that's excused. So if somebody is sick, of course, we mentioned this many times. To lay one's forearms on the ground during prostration. Where is your forearms? Where are the forearms? These are the forearms, between the elbow and the wrists. What does it mean to lay them on the ground? To lay them on the ground, it means when you make sujood, you put the whole forearm on the ground, like this. Make sujood like this. So this is disliked. This is makruh. How about ladies? Recommended for the ladies. Thank you. So for the ladies, we mentioned this before. For the ladies, this is recommended. For men, this is disliked. Because we said the ladies, the whole salah for them, the movements is movements of covering the body as much as possible. And this is more covering for the woman when she does that. So she doesn't do like the man, like this, but rather she lays her forearms on the ground. This is recommended for her. And we mentioned in the ruku'ah, the man does this in the ruku'ah. But ladies, their ruku'ah is like this. They have their fingers stuck together like that, and then they touch the knees. They don't hold the knees, and they bend the knees also a little bit like this. So this is the ruku'ah for women. Even the placing of the hands, we mentioned that they place their hands on their chests, right under the breasts. No. And then he said to roll up one's sleeves. So it is recommended, since this is makruh, the recommendation in the salah is to have long sleeves when you are praying. So some people, when they make wudu, for example, they roll up their sleeves. So it is recommended before the salah to unfold the sleeves and not have them rolled up during the salah. So the forearms are covered. How about ladies? It is disliked for them to show their forearms? It is invalid. It invalidates the prayer. No, it's not just disliked, but it validates the prayer, because we said that this is part of the awrah for ladies, so they have to cover their arms. No. Okay, so he said for men to pray in only a lower garment. So we mentioned that the awrah for men is from the navel to the knees. So can they pray just covering from the navel to the knees? Yeah, they can. But is it disliked? Yes, it's disliked. Why do you think it's disliked? We mentioned it last time. We did mention it. You need to pray shirtless. For a man to pray shirtless, to just modesty. Yeah. So it's not. It's adab in the salah. يعني to show respect. يعني would you go meet someone important without a shirt, for example, or you have a guest in your house? What would you do, right? You wouldn't even stay in your pajamas, right? You would wear something that is decent. Allah is greater than these people and the created beings, and you have to have that presence at the salah. خذوا زينتكم عند كل مسجد. So don't pray in your pajamas. No, try to put something that you would usually put, like you have a special garment for the prayer. The women have that, so it's easier for them. The men, should not pray with their t-shirt under t-shirt or something, but rather they should wear something that is respectful. So this is the reason why it is disliked. While you have the ability. Why is he saying, while do you have the ability? Maybe because there is a person, he's talking about people who are so poor that they have only one piece to cover their awrah. Did this happen in history? Yes. There were scholars in Islam, great scholars, who never had to pray Salat al-Jum'ah. Why? Because they didn't have enough clothes to cover their nakedness when they go out. They were so poor that they didn't have. In the Eid, the Prophet ﷺ, he encouraged women to go pray Salat al-Eid. So they said to him, what if we don't have a dress that covers our awrah? Imagine, like there were ladies at the time of the Prophet ﷺ who couldn't leave their houses because they didn't have a dress that is covering enough, that would cover all the awrah, out of poverty, like they had one dress. Sayyiduna Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he appointed a leader over Asham, and people complained against him, and they said, there's one day that we don't see him, he doesn't work, like he takes off one day as a holiday. So he summoned him from, he was in Medina, he said, come to me. So he traveled all the way from Syria, Asham, all the way to Umar al-Khattab to be asked about this. Why are you taking one day off when you have been hired to be the ruler of that place? So, and when he was coming, Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab made dua, said, Ya Allah, don't let me down in my good opinion about him. Like I have a great opinion in him. So don't let me down. Let him have a good excuse for this. So when he came, he said, oh, the commander of the believer, I have only one garment. And one day I have to wash it in the week, and I have to wait for it until it dries. And I can't go out because I don't have anything else to cover my awrah. Compare this to the wardrobe that each one of us has. Sayyiduna Uwais al-Qarni, when Sayyidina Umar bin Khattab met him, it's a long story. I'm not gonna, digress so much, but it's an amazing story. But at the end of the story, Sayyidina Umar bin Khattab tells Uwais, he says to him, look, this garment that you have is completely outworn. Can I please buy you another one? So he said, Wayhaka ya Umar. He said, woe to you, O Umar. You want to give me another garment that I have to answer for in the judgment day? That's where I got it from. So we are answerable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything that we have. Now, yes, now. Salat al-Fajr, yeah, Salat al-Fajr, you go get dressed and dress nicely, yes. It's better. It's makruh to pray in, you have to wear the best you have, the best clothes you have. Now, what happened here? Naam? Yeah. Let me find the other one then. Yeah, this is it. Maybe this one would work. I don't know why it's giving me the presenter view today, for some reason. I'm used to the other program more than this one. But anyway. Yeah. So of the disliked things, and I hope that we will be able to, it's happening now, to cover them, is to gather one's garment close to the body before going into prostration. So it seems to me that this is a practice that that people of the past used to do. I'm not sure if, maybe, I don't know. So it's to go like this. So if you're wearing something that is really loose, I would say, I don't have to do that myself. I don't know what the purpose is, but he's saying this was done out of arrogance. He's saying that people would bring their clothes close to their body like that and they would prostrate. So this is not, this is disliked because it's done out of arrogance, he said. To place a shawl on one's head or shoulders, letting its end hang down below. This means that to wear anything that you don't put your sleeves inside and let it hang below. Just put it on the shoulders and let it hang down below. So this is disliked as well in the Hanafi school. To close one's eyes. So to close one's eyes is disliked, right? So we mentioned this a couple of times. Why is it disliked to close one's eyes? Who can tell me? طبعا closing one's eyes, this is makruh tanzihan, not tahriman. Tanzihan. So it's not a sin to close one's eyes. But why is it makruh? Because it's a sunnah, remember it's a sunnah to look on the place where you prostrate. Like how about if you close them, it increases your presence in the prayer, then it's not makruh. Then it's not makruh. Then it becomes recommended in your case. Why? Because the reason why the Sharia is asking you to look at the prostration place is because the Sharia wants you to increase your presence in the prayer. So if the increasing of the presence is achieved by you closing your eyes altogether, then it is recommended in your case, to close your eyes. To yawn. This is also disliked in the prayer, to do that. Now, someone might say, well, but when I do this, this is not something I do voluntarily, right? Right or wrong? When people yawn, they do this because they choose to yawn or because they are sleepy. It's out of control. It's lack of oxygen, whatever the reason, it's a scientific reason behind it. So it is not done voluntarily. If it's not done voluntarily, then it's not makruh. However, the sunnah is to do what? To suppress it. To suppress it. And if you're not able to suppress it, is to cover the mouth with the left hand in this position, like that. With the back, not the palm, the back side of the hand, like this, and the left hand. Look how exact the Sharia teaches us what to do, even when yawning. There is no religion, I told you, that gives its people so many details, so many things you can do. We mentioned last time about drinking water, how many sunnahs you can achieve and rewards just by drinking a sip of water. So when yawning, you try to suppress it as much as you can, and you use your hand if you can't, like this, without excessive movements. Like this is not an excessive movement, and this is needed, right? If you have to yawn inside the salah or outside the salah, this is the sunnah. Now, this is considered makruh in the salah if it's done deliberately. If somebody is not doing it because he is sleepy and he couldn't control it, but someone is like doing it out of abath, right? Doing that movement or whatever. So in that case, it's makruh, and as we said, this would be makruh tahriman or tanzihan. Tahriman. This would be if he does it voluntarily. If he does it voluntarily, this would be tahriman, laysa tanzihan. It's a sin. It's playing in the salah. To stretch one's arms, exposing the chest. So stretching is going like this. This is what exposing the chest doesn't mean uncovering it, but exposing it, showing the chest. The chest is covered by the hands. But if somebody goes like this in the prayer, for example, stretching. So he said, as long as there is no excessive movement, stretching is deemed mildly disliked, as it is done out of laziness. What does mildly disliked mean? Makruh tanzihan. Makruh tanzihan. As long as there is no excessive movement. If there is excessive movement, what happens? You can say goodbye to the prayer. Yes? No, not the skin. No, the shape. Yeah, the chest itself. Yeah. So stretching itself, because when you have your hands like that, you're covering the chest, right? Or even like that. But if you go like this, you're stretching and doing this sign, which is a sign of laziness. It's a sign of laziness. No. And then to cover one's nose and mouth, except when yawning. So when yawning, the Sharia legislates that for you. It's recommended for you to do that. So covering the mouth and not showing the teeth and the tongue and everything else is recommended. But to cover the mouth and the nose like this in the salah, right, it is makruh, because he said this is the practice of magicians when they are burning something of their sihr or whatever. So they use these things. So covering the mouth and the nose, he said, is makruh tahriman. No. Ladies covering the face. Yeah. I don't know, to tell you the truth. Let me check it out. Yeah. I know during Umrah and Hajj they shouldn't, but in the Salah, does anybody know of the ladies? Yeah.
My understanding is that according to all of the consensus of the ulama, is that what a woman should cover is
Yes.
just
Yeah.
the face,
Yeah.
but there's a difference opinion on the feet.
Yeah.
In Shafi, the feet should be covered as well.
What we mentioned last time was about the difference of the opinion about the niqab. In the Shafi'i school, they are stricter than the Hanafi school as far as the niqab is concerned. So niqab is recommended in the schools. The difference is about whether it is wajib or not. Whether it's wajib or not. So some scholars say that wearing the niqab, if there is a lady who is very attractive, very beautiful, then wearing the niqab would be wajib for her, because it causes fitna for her to do that. Yeah, but other scholars, yeah, so it's a matter that is differed upon. In the salah, it's her habit to wear the niqab, yeah. Yeah, the salah is valid. The salah is valid, yeah. That doesn't invalidate the salah. Even if a man wears a veil or something, that doesn't. As long as the forehead, we mentioned this, the forehead should touch the ground.
If a man, like some West Africans, they cover their faces.
Yeah, yeah.
Then this wouldn't apply to them.
What wouldn't apply?
To cover one's nose and mouth.
It seems to me it's better not to cover, because we mentioned that the nose should touch the ground and stuff. It's better not to cover. However, Allahu A'lam, what he means here is covering with one's hand, not having a veil. Because he said, except when yawning. Except with yawning. And during COVID, we were wearing masks, and nobody said that we should take them off, But someone might say, oh, but there is a reason for that. But if the salah would be invalid, then we would have to take them off. We mentioned in the salah that the part that has to touch the ground in the Shafi'i school is what? Is the forehead only. The forehead. No, in the Hanafi school it's stricter. Yes, we mentioned that at least one of the toes has to touch and one of the hands has to touch, as well as the forehead. But in the Shafi'i school, if you can balance yourself on your forehead in the sujood, then your sujood is correct. No.
I thought
Yeah, it's better. It's better to have your forehead and your nose and the hands and the knees. But we're talking about what is obligatory, what you have to do, what you must. We're not talking about the most perfect way. To prostrate with the forehead covered. Again, he said that this is disliked. No, he said this is deemed mildly disliked. He said makruh tanzihan unless one has an excuse, such as if the ground is very hot, cold, or coarse. But in the Shafi'i school, covering the forehead, we have to. Why I'm mentioning other schools? Because we have to make our salah as valid as possible, according to as many mujtahideen as possible. So if I know that if I do something in the salah that invalidates my salah in another school, I should refrain from it. So in the Shafi'i school, if the forehead is completely covered, that invalidates the salah. Yeah, so at least some part of the forehead has to touch the ground. So sometimes people have like something that is like a hat, they have it like this, for example, or a turban or whatever that is covering the forehead. They should be careful. They should take it off or raise it back. Right? It doesn't have to be the whole thing. If it's like this and I'm prostrating, at least some of the forehead is touching the ground, then this would be fine. To prostrate on a picture of an animate creature. Animate creature means an animal, a human being. So if that human being, the picture of that human being is where the sujood is, this is makruh tahriman. But if it's on the feet, then that is not makruh. Because you're stepping on it, but if you're putting it on the place of the sujood, you're showing respect to it. So this is makruh tahriman, to make that. And there's a shubha in that you are actually worshipping that thing, walayadu billah. So it is, he said that at the place of prostration where the face touches the ground, as this, he said, entails veneration for the picture and resembles worshipping it. This results in the most severe level of karaha. It is not disliked, however, to pray with it underneath one's feet or where one sits, due to the implicit disdain therein. So this shows that you don't respect it. If you put something on the ground and your feet on it, you have disdain for that thing. You don't respect that thing. So this is not makruh. But if you put it on the place where you put your forehead, this is an utmost sign of respect, and it's makruh tahriman. It's a very severely makruh. To pray in a road, lavatory, or graveyard. To pray in a road, why do you think it is makruh to pray in a road? Huh? No, it's not about safety. No. Huh? Distractions? No, you can pray and not be distracted. But no, it's not about distractions. Huh? Obstruction for others. You make it difficult for others. Yes. To pass in front of you. It's a road. What are the people going to do? People are walking there. So some people, I see this in masajid, and by the way, this applies to the masjid too. So they want to pray the sunnah, and they go at the door right there. They start praying. You're making it difficult. It's for people to pass, right? Because there is the Prophet ﷺ forbade us from passing in front of someone who's praying. There's a hadith about it, that for you to wait 40 years there is better than to pass in front of someone who's praying. Taban, passing Passing means passing in front of them in the area where they make sujood, up to the area where they make sujood. So if someone goes in that line, the last line there, and he starts praying, and I'm passing here, no, I don't have to go behind him. You see what I mean? So it is sunnah to always pray to a sutra. Sutra means like something like a chair, for example, that you put it. Why? Because you make it easy for people. This is my borders now, my sujood, right? So anyone can go from behind easily. So it is sunnah to do that. It is sunnah, however, for that sutra not to be a movable object. Why? Because someone might come and take that chair away. Maybe he doesn't know that I'm praying, or maybe he knows, whatever. So they take that chair. So it's not a movable object. It is better to have a pillar, the wall, like come near the wall and pray, and don't inconvenience anyone. All right? So it is disliked to do that. If he does that and he goes to the door, no, you can't pass, by the way. And he forfeits his right to prevent you. He himself did not do what is right. So he can't, he would still inconvenience people, right? You don't want to do that yourself. But he forces you to do it. And if you do it, it's not a sin. Can someone pray and make his sutra the back of someone? Like I see Brother Amr sitting there making his dhikr or talking about the dunya, whatever. And then I say, well, this is my sutra. Can I do that? Well, I can. Right? It is recommended to have a sutra. Let's say I didn't find any sutra around. It's only a person, right? Whether this person is making dhikr or it's better that I have something that is not movable because he can get up and go, right? Right? But it's okay. But it is recommended for him to stay. If he realized, look at the fiqh of the Sharia, he sees that, oh, he's taking me as his sutra. So don't move. Help your brother apply the sunnah. You will be rewarded for that. Yeah. To pray near filth, it is, of course, it's disliked because it's a salah. You should be away from najasa and everything. How about if you are praying on something that is filthy? No, that invalidates the salah if you touch the najasa. To pray on stolen property, in a stolen garment, or after having made wudu from stolen water. So what does it mean to pray on a stolen property? Like you kick someone out of his house, for example, or you don't have permission to enter into somebody's house. Let's say a robber breaks into somebody's house, and then the salah comes in, and he wants to pray. You are laughing, but it does happen. And it happened in the history of Islam a lot. And there are so many stories about people who were committing crimes, major crimes, but when the salah comes in, they pray, subhanallah. This is how serious the prayer is, by the way, and they understood that. We had, when I was doing my MA, we had a student who I never imagined that she's someone who prays because of how she dressed, right? But when the salah came, I went out because they gave us breaks. These higher education courses is that the lecture is 3 hours. It's once a week, and it's for 3 hours, and there's a break after like 1 hour and a half. So during that break, we would go pray. It's an evening class. All of the higher education classes are done in the evening. So we would go like, let's say 5 o'clock, and then 6:30 Maghrib comes in. So we have that 15 minutes to go and pray. And subhanAllah, very few people would go pray out of that group. But anyway, that's besides the point. So I went inside one of the empty classrooms to pray. And when I finished my prayer, I saw this fellow student of mine completely covered with her prayer outfit that she had in her bag and praying. So you should never judge anyone. And there are people like that. They never miss the prayer. They're not wearing hijab, but when the prayer comes in, actually they pray in time also. I've seen this. They don't even delay the prayer. They consider that it's a big sin. Allah guided this sister, by the way, afterwards, because she prays, yeah. She kept that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And she married someone who helped her wear the hijab, and she became a practicing Muslim afterwards. So if a robber breaks into somebody's house and he decides to pray, the prayer is valid or not valid? Huh? مش سامع, I want to hear. Not valid. Oh, okay. Oh? The prayer is disliked. The prayer is valid, yes. The prayer is valid. طيب, let's say he needed to make wudu, and he made wudu with that person's water. Now, he doesn't have permission to use it. By the way, when we go to somebody's house and we use the toilet or we use the water, it's because they give us permission to do that, right? We know that they accept for us to do that. Well, otherwise, it would be haram, right? If you go to somebody's house and he tells you, look, I don't give you permission, that would be haram to do that. So anyway, if that robber decides to make wudu, his wudu is valid or not valid? Huh? Yeah, the wudu is valid. The wudu is valid, but the water is stolen. So it's a sin. It's a sin because he's using somebody's water. It's a sin that he's praying in a place where he doesn't have permission to pray. He doesn't have permission to be in that place, right? So that time that you are in there is haram for you, as long as you are in somebody else's property without permission. It's haram. So praying or making wudu or reading a book or whatever you want to do is not valid, and it's a sin. Yet these things, stolen property, stolen garment, or after having wudu from stolen water, somebody might say, well, I made wudu there, but I prayed outside. This is still disliked, this is still a sin, right? But the wudu itself is correct. Yes? Stuck on what? Salty water? On a boat, yeah, you can make wudu with seawater, yes. We talked about this in Tahara. Salty water is fine, yeah. Because this salt comes from nature. It's a natural thing. It's not something that has been added. And you still call it water. You don't call it something else. So seawater is something we are allowed to make wudu with. Yes, Maaz? No, guests, when you visit somebody else's house, there is a general permission. They have already given you permission. So this is an assumption. We all know that they don't mind. If you know that when you use somebody else's property, if you know that they don't mind, then you can use it. Like, I have a pen here and I know it belongs to Brother Amr, right? And then I need to sign something and I get it and I sign with it. If I know that he doesn't mind, then I can use it. But if I'm not at friendly terms with him, for example, for any reason, and I know that he might not like that, then it's haram for me to use it. Then I have to ask for permission for that. Imam Shafi'i, he went back home and he had a slave woman that he owned, and he went back home and he asked her if something happened. So she said that a friend of yours came in here, and she gave him the name of the friend, and he found a bag full of money and he took it, and without asking Imam Shafi'i, without permission, without anything. So he said to her, "You are free to go for the sake of Allah." He was so happy that he set her free. Why was he so happy? That his friend is so close to him that he didn't need to seek permission, that he knew that Imam Shafi'i would be fine with that. So because of that, he was so happy, and he told her that you are free to go. So if these things happen these days, people will not have the same reaction. So you have to really, the student knew that it's Imam Shafi'i, and he knew that Imam Shafi'i and these early Muslims, giving for them was more beloved than taking. Yes, brother, come on. Yeah.
Not praying on a gravesite.
Yeah, the gravesite. Yeah, so the graveyard, I didn't talk about the graveyard. So there are two reasons that the ulama mentioned as far as the graveyard is concerned. One is that they said it's a place that there's probably najasa or something. I don't think this applies to our times, but maybe to their times it applies. When you bury someone, they might be bleeding, they might be like sick or something coming out of their bodies when they are buried. So this might mix with the sand, so you might suspect that there is a najasa over there. So it's better to avoid praying in graveyards. And other ulama said because the Jews and the Christians used to pray on the graves of their prophets and righteous people. So this is absolutely haram. Why it's haram? Because you might be suspected that you are worshipping that person when you do that. So it's haram. اتخذوا قبور أنبيائهم مساجد. The Prophet ﷺ said, Allah cursed the Jews, or Allah cursed the Jews and the Christians. They took the graves of their prophets as masajid here, prostrating places. This is what it means. Masjid in Arabic means the place where you make sujood. We call the mosque masjid in Arabic because it's the place where we make sujood. But this place, any place, in your house, the place where you pray all the time, that's your masjid, like the place where you make sujood. Right? So Allah cursed them because they prayed on the grave. Right? But if you have a grave in the mosque, the salah is completely valid. How would I know? The grave of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the mosque, not just his grave, the grave of Abu Bakr Siddiq and the grave of Umar bin Khattab. And the Sahaba did build mosques when some of them died in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Basir, that's his name. They built a masjid around his grave. So this is not haram to do, to pray in a masjid that has a grave. What is haram is to pray on the grave, to prostrate on the grave. Right? To pray while having the urge to urinate or defecate, or while needing to relieve oneself from gas. This is not befitting the salah. One should take care of this business before the salah and not be in that state while in the prayer. To pray in work clothes. Again, that takes us back to the garment and how respectful one should be. Work clothes, like someone was painting, for example, and he has that outfit that he was wearing for work. It's better to change into something that is more befitting and respectful for the salah. He defined this, he said, namely clothes that are usually dirty and worn out, or clothes that one normally wears in the house and are not suitable attire when meeting distinguished personalities, like VIPs. Like praying in such clothes is deemed mildly disliked. You wouldn't go and meet the president. Not that I'm saying that the president is a big deal, but I'm saying that in people's customs, you wouldn't go to the White House wearing your pajamas, for example, or wearing your work clothes. Now, if you do, however, this is makruh tanzihan, not tahriman. This is makruh tanzihan. No. I'm trying to finish the disliked things. Inshallah, bear with me, inshallah. We will just finish this investigation. I hate to make the lesson too long because I want people to be encouraged to attend. To pray in a garment on which there is a picture of an animal or creature. We see this all the time with children and others. They pray with pictures that has animals or animate things, even people. This is disliked. Now, okay. To pray with one's head uncovered unless done out of humility. طبعا this applies to who? The men. I mean the men. Yeah. Both the Shafi'is and the Hanafis, it's recommended to cover one's head in the salah. And if you pray without covering it, it's disliked. To pray when food has been served. To pray, there's a hadith about this, that if dinner is served, then have dinner first and then pray. Why? Because you will be thinking about the food and the salah. Maybe you will make the salah faster. طبعا this is when you have a desire for that food, when you are hungry and you want to eat. Not when you just had another meal in somebody else's house and then you came and you found that they are serving dinner. Then no, go ahead and pray first. To pray in the presence of a picture, especially if the picture is in front of you. to pray around that which would distract the person. So it is a general sunnah to take the distractions away from you. And the biggest distraction of our times is what? The cell phone. Yes. Yeah, so let's not, yeah, okay, that's a good question. So what does it mean that the food is served? It means that the food is on the table already. That's what served means. So you have everything ready and the food is like hot and delicious and you are hungry. In Ramadan, what we should do, we should not serve the food like that. We should serve water and dates, right? Maybe even a small bowl of soup or whatever, so that you don't delay Maghrib. Because Maghrib is a prayer that you cannot delay for that reason, right? This is why Isha, the Prophet ﷺ said, it's Isha. Maghrib has to be prayed because if you delay it, you might miss it. The window for praying Maghrib is very limited, right? So don't serve everything in iftar and make it difficult for people. Serve water and dates. Go take care of Maghrib and then come back and eat not as much as you can, as little as you can, because you have Taraweeh after that. And eat, I've been doing this myself throughout the years, because I lead Taraweeh. One of the reasons is I lead the Taraweeh. I need to be able to breathe on the Salah, so I eat very little. But health-wise, the meal that should be heavy is the suhoor, not the iftar. Health-wise. Why? Because you need that meal you're fasting after that. So people do the opposite. People fill their stomachs so much that suhoor comes and they don't feel hungry. They say, oh, we have been eating all night, right? So that's it. So to pray in a congregation while standing alone in a row and not joining them, this is the slide. To pray in front of a furnace or ember, in front of fire, because this is a shubha, again, this is a suspicion of you worshipping fire. The salah is valid, but it's better to not pray in front of a furnace, to pray in front of people sleeping, and to wipe dirt or sweat off one's face that doesn't distract him during the prayer. But if it distracts him, if that dirt distracts him, then he can remove it. It's not disliked, right? So you prostrate on something and then there's something on your forehead and it's bothering you. Then if you remove it, that's fine, it's not disliked. And this applies to sweat. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina. Sorry, I had to wrap around. If I go into the details, this will take us longer. وبارك الله فيكم والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك يا أرحم الراحمين يا أكرم الأكرمين تجعل تجمعنا هذا تجمعا مرحوما تفرقنا بعد تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل منا ولا معنا ولا بيننا شقيا ولا مطرودا ولا محروما برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.